What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Dag Life Podcast here at the D Nagler Group in San Diego with your host, as always, Louis Pisano, with a incredibly dear friend and special guest today, Miss Delcie Pecoraro. What up, girl?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm stoked to have you on. We're
Thank
going to have a
you.
lot of fun, get to know a little bit more about Delcie. Tell us about yourself and how you got into real estate.
So I'm born and raised in San Diego. I have 2 children, and I got into real estate when the idea was planted when I was purchasing. Me and my ex-husband were purchasing our first house.
Okay.
I was able to somehow save it by calling a contractor to get something done that day when no one else would do it.
Well, you were the buyer.
I was the buyer,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay.
And so my agent was like, Delcie, have you ever thought about getting into real estate? And I was like, I think it would be cool. I used to do sales when I was younger. Like, one of my first jobs was selling phones, like in the kiosks in the mall.
Yeah.
So, like, sales was like something that I,
For sure.
was good at. I liked
And you
it.
can take a lot of rejection because
Well,
in
for
the
sure.
mall you're getting rejected left and
It was
right.
like 90% of the time. Yeah, like, or just people being weird. But yeah, so I waited 5 years for my youngest to go to kindergarten, and like as soon as he started kindergarten is when I started in real estate. So it's been like 6 years now.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a long 6-year journey.
Yes.
You've probably seen, about 10 different markets in that time?
Yeah, actually, I feel like from when I started, I've kind of just gotten to ride this roller coaster of, COVID, the crazy interest rate spike,
Yep.
the NAR settlement. I feel like in the past 6 years, so much has happened that we've had to adapt to. It's crazy.
And it's funny because we talk 6 years like it's, in most industries, if you're there for 6 years, it's like you're at a job for a very long time, and it's pretty much the same.
Right.
In real estate, 6 years in real estate is like 20 years in an industry.
Right.
So many moving parts, so many different factors, so many different changes, and so many different markets that we really don't have any control over.
Exactly.
So in terms of like adapting every single time, what is like one takeaway from every single time you've had to adapt to a changing market that you're taking with you the entire way?
I would say the biggest thing is, for me, it's 2 things. It's like, one, the willingness and like the hunger of wanting to learn this so that you can better serve your clients. Because that's the most important thing, is providing great service. And the only way you're going to do that is if you dedicate yourself to learning. Number 2, which is equally as important, maybe even a little bit more important, is having that leadership that is going to guide you on that journey and train you and say, hey, this is how things are going to be from now on. So I feel like those 2 things hand in hand, that's definitely what has helped me get through, the changing markets.
Right. And to your point, being in a growth mindset in an industry like real estate is important because so many things change on a daily basis where you're not giving yourself the best advantage to be very prolific and efficient in this industry if you're not in that growth mindset. And we see it all the time with the agents. I've been doing this for 25 years,
yeah.
right? As soon as we get that line, it's like, oh, fuck, here we go, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I can only imagine what it's been like here for 25 years. But, you mentioned something very interesting. Like, you took your own experience of buying a home to be like, okay, this is a catalyst to get me into real estate. Talk through your own experience other than the one-day contracting thing. Like, what was it like for you at the time?
So I was super young when we were buying the home. We had just moved from San Diego to Virginia Beach, military family. And my husband at the time was like, hey, like, we actually can't afford the rent. It makes more sense for us to buy. Like, these are the numbers. And in my young, 21, 22-year-old brain, to me, if we bought a house in Virginia Beach, that meant we were never coming back home to San Diego. It felt so permanent, and I'm like so close with my family, like just the thought of it. I'll never forget being in the front seat of the car as we're having this conversation on our house hunting leave in Virginia, just in tears, wailing, I don't want to buy a house. This is the worst thing. I don't want to be in Virginia forever. And he was just like, dude, you got to suck it up. Like, we have to buy this house.
Yeah. And
honestly, thank God we did. We bought the house. We got a short sale. So we got like the ugliest house in the nicest neighborhood.
What year was this, by the way?
This is 2012.
So literally right after the crash.
Yes.
Okay.
So we got a really great deal on it. We lived in it for 5 years and renovated it. Then we rented it out for an additional 5 years when we came back to San Diego.
Amazing.
Because you can do that,
It didn't mean you had to stay there.
Exactly. So we were able to cash flow it for 5 years, and we sold it in 2022, made 6 figures off of it.
That's
so
insane.
Yeah, the best decision ever. Which is like, for me, that's why I'm like so passionate about what I do, especially because I work with a lot of military. Being able to educate them, like, look, I know I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. But this has set my family up, for the future.
Yeah, you've literally been in their shoes.
Absolutely.
10, 12 years ago, whenever it was, right? So
Yep.
It's funny. It's so often at a younger age, we think like every decision we make is like a permanent thing.
Right.
And then we learn years down the road, myself included, like, okay, there's just a small little chapter.
Right.
So talk about, like, obviously a decision that you were afraid to make at first, which every time we're afraid to make a decision, that's when we have to make it.
Yes.
That's one of the main things I've learned in life. When you're scared to jump in, you have to jump. What was the cash flow process like for you during those 5 years? Like, how much were you guys making on a monthly basis?
So when we first started, I think we were pulling in like 200, and then just as it just gotten like higher and higher, we got up to 600.
Oh, wow.
Right before we sold it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it was a quick growth, but again, I mean, we got it for like $135,000.
What'd you guys end up selling for?
265, I think it was.
So all in all, a decision that you were terrified to make made your entire family well over 6 figures and a lot of monthly cash flow rent.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
So how do you tailor that conversation to not only military clients, but also first-time buyers that are in that circumstance?
I actually pride myself on just totally being like honest with people and like vulnerable. I don't feel like I have to hold myself like I'm the real estate agent. I know everything.
Of course.
I will tell people like, hey, I was in your shoes. I was crying. I was literally in tears about buying this house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, when I kind of am vulnerable with my experience, not just like I made money off of doing this, but just like, I didn't want to do this, but I'm so thankful I did. It kind of breaks down that barrier where they're like, okay, she's for real. Like,
yeah. Brings a lot of relatability, they can resonate with you. There's a lot of trust there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been in real estate for 6 years now. What has been the biggest challenge that you've had?
My biggest challenge was, like, time frame wise, was definitely the 2021 era.
Okay.
Every agent was killing it. I sold 3 houses that year.
Damn.
I sold 3 houses that year.
Was it anything in particular?
Yeah, I was homeschooling my kids, so that was, with the pandemic, like, I can only be in so many places at one time.
So give yourself a little bit of grace.
Right. And I think that it was more of just like my mindset, of when in the beginning of the year, like the first quarter, when I felt like things weren't panning out for me, like my buyers couldn't compete.
Mm-hmm.
I had no issues getting buyers, but I could never get their offers accepted at the time.
It was a tough year.
It was super, super tough. And so towards the end of the year, I just had this realization where I was like, I would say probably like in September, where I was like, okay, this person is closing deal number 50 for the year. This other person is closing this many deals. Like, if they're doing it, that means it exists. And that means that you can do it too. And so I got really into like scripting, where I would write it down, like, I deserve to do this, or my clients deserve to have an agent like me because I'm going to keep their best interest. And I would just write it out. And I have the journals still, like, to this day, I've kept them. And that totally just helped, like, switch my mindset of, like, it's out there and I can do it too. So
writing your affirmations down from a real estate perspective and self-improvement and motivation, you put it out there to the universe and it came back to you.
Yeah. And then that following year, 2022, I top 10% for San Diego County. So it's it was all here more than anything.
That's all this game is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't call it a game as like cat and mouse. It's the real estate industry. It's mental.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with the ebbs and flows of the industry, where you're going to go months at a time sometimes, hopefully not, where you might not get a paycheck.
Yeah, I've gone like 6 months without a check a couple of times.
Yeah, and it's tough. And that's why it's almost an oversaturated industry where so many people get their license and do nothing because they don't know how to do anything. It's almost like there's so many personal trainers out there that get their personal trainer certification, but they still need a trainer. Right. Because it's something where you just go and get it, right? Obviously, it's not like easy to get either, but it's such a saturated industry where you really have to be knuckled down on the ground. You have to have everything in place, your systems, your processes, so on and so forth, and the right people around you to really help you succeed.
Yeah.
So in terms of like your previous career before coming to the Dean Aguilar Group, what was that transition like, and what made you come over to DAG to begin with?
So the team, I originally started on a team. I cannot be a solo agent. Like, I have to have a team for just the accountability and the camaraderie. Like, team is so important to me. But I would say the biggest thing for me was when I came to DAG and I witnessed the role play, and I was like, when I was told about it, I was like, that's weird. I'm not gonna do that.
That's a no for me, dog.
I'm not getting up there. Like, that's weird. But when I kind of just put down my defense and, watched it and actually was like, whoa, like, there's like 100 people on this team and they all care about like sharpening their skills. Like, that's only going to make me better. Yeah. And definitely since, joining DAG, it's totally like my business has gone up so much because I know that I have that support. No matter what I'm facing, I can call someone and be like, hey, let's run through this real quick. Like, I'm scared. I have to ask for this much money in credits. Like, let's talk about it first before I do it. And then you just get that confidence from, and I've been able to give that confidence to other people on the team as well. Like, all right, let's run it through. Let's see how it sounds.
So what I'm hearing is something that's a pattern for you is being afraid to do something and then doing it and saying, damn, I should have done it quicker.
Yeah.
So from not buying a house to buying a house and being super happy, not role playing to be like, fuck it, I'll role play, to now teaching people how to role play.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Full circle.
I'm like one of those people, I have to learn it for myself. You can tell me all day, but I have to do it myself, and then I'll be like, oh, well, you're right. That's really wasn't bad.
It's huge, and it's a big internal reflection of understanding who you are, how you learn, and the best way to kind of coach yourself, right? Because a lot of times, real estate's not an industry where you can read something and know how to do it.
Right.
But, so obviously with real estate, it's not something where you can read the book and take the exam, but we all know that the things you study for, the exam you take, it's pretty much nothing you have to do with real estate.
Right.
So being in that growth mindset and always being around a system of people and a culture where you are in an environment that's conducive for learning and growth. Because a lot of times, we see it all the time. People come and join the team and they've never experienced a role play.
Right.
And it throws them off. They're like, what the fuck is this? Right, but at the same time, it's one of those things where every time someone role plays, they always get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every single role play brings a different scenario that you're going to run into in the field. And we have those situations nonstop. Part of your transition to coming over to DAG, outside of like the role play and kind of some of the systems and training and stuff like that, was there a moment or was there something in particular where you're like, this is home, this is family?
I would say, honestly, like, as soon as I started, I was invited to a Bay Day, and just seeing everybody, like, interact with each other and how they approached me. I'd only known, one agent on the team, Vanessa, who brought me on. So I kind of just showed up by myself, like, looking for Vanessa, but the way that, like, I was a complete stranger and I'm meeting everybody at the Bay Day and like, oh, hey, how are you? What's your name? Like, what's your story? All this stuff, and how they, like, everybody had something great to say about the team that I was like, I made the right decision. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that was the first Bay Day.
It was the very first Bay Day.
That was July 2022, right? Yeah, wow. Can't believe it's so. Sheesh. It's been a long 2.5, 3 years since that time.
Yeah.
It's great just because when it comes to those team events and team outings where we try to do something at least once a quarter and we try to pour so much into the team and even their families and even do team outings and family outings, whether it's bowling or Bay Day or a holiday party where we all let loose and go crazy, except for me because I don't drink anymore, so I'm boring. But it's one of those things where you all come together and you can really feel like the culture. And you feel the family, and it's what I explain as the most unorthodox group of people in one setting ever. But it's the best because we're all so different and so diverse where it just makes the entire well-oiled machine work.
Yeah.
And it's what makes all the business end of things so smooth for us because we all are so close. And I think it's something that it's hard to find, and especially in an industry like this where we know the realtors that are bouncing team to team to team to team to team on an annual basis. Now, that doesn't mean if you need to find somewhere else or, leave and come back and so on and so forth that you're making a wrong decision. It's just the retention rate with our team here and the amount of people that rarely ever leave,
Right.
it says a lot about the team from a culture perspective.
For sure.
And for me, I'm prideful in a sense where DAG is all I know for 4 years going on real estate now. And I've never once considered even thinking about another team.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a testament to how much Dean and Aphrodite just poured into the team around the loop.
For
and
sure.
everything we have set up here.
For sure. And I will say, like, I tell agents all the time on the team, like brand new agents, like you have no idea how lucky you are to start here.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have access to this kind of training, like you can come in and role play 3 days a week. Like to sharpen your skills, it's open for you 3 days a week. On top of that, you have access to Zillow. My first 3 years in real estate, my team did not have any lead system. Like everything had to be SOI, which hindsight, I'm glad for that because it taught me how to go like get my own business.
A lot
right?
more grunt and grind work.
Right. But I couldn't imagine like being a brand new agent and then joining Dean Aguilar Group and then within, a couple months, however long it takes, actually getting leads that call me.
Yeah.
Like that's a crazy thought to me. So I wish like if I could have rewind, I would have done more research and I would have came here first, for sure.
And it's funny to play that like woulda, coulda, shoulda game.
Yeah.
But obviously, after your first 3 years, it turned you into like kind of where you are.
Yeah.
Help you get there. And it's funny because I have the conversation so often with people where it's like, listen, the average first year realtor is going to do 2 to 3 deals. Our first year realtor is doing 10 to 12.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Right.
And it comes down to the culture, the collaboration, the systems, the process, the access, and the opportunity, and everything else, all the crazies of this fucking team that have to kind of combine into one crazy, fun, amazing group that produces so high. In terms of like your journey so far, what has been your favorite part about it?
I would say like my whole real estate journey, my absolute favorite part is when I get the call from a past buyer and they say, hey, I'm retiring. Hey, I'm PCSing. Hey, whatever the situation is, we need to sell. And to be able to present them the numbers and be like, here you go. This is what your investment that you made when you could have just went and rented like other people. Like to show like, even though it's not mine, I'm not giving them the money, but
right.
I love to deliver that news of like, okay, after everything, like you're walking away with 6 figures or you're walking away with 75K after living here for 3 years. Like that part will never get old to me. And then also the buyers who didn't think that they could at first, but were open to listening, open to talking to the lender. Because I'm always like, don't discount yourself. Just have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's not a commitment. It's a conversation.
And if it doesn't make sense, then you keep moving.
Exactly. And when they see that they can, and closing day for those people that really are like, I'm first generation. Like no one in my family has ever bought a house. I'm the first one, and I'm 25 years old.
Life changing.
Exactly. Like that, like just to be a part of those moments, that helps to set people up for their future. That's the best part of all of this.
And I love that because it ties into your experience as a first time buyer.
Right.
Because you've had that same feeling.
Yeah. What
is, if you're okay with sharing, what's the most amount of equity a seller's ever gained that you helped them buy a house?
It was 2023. I think they were over 5.
Wow. 500,000.
Yes.
Wow.
They had owned the house a long time though, but they were over 5.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did they sell or they still own the home?
They sold. Oh yeah, they sold, and then they went to Vegas and bought and
bought 3
for,
times
like,
the size of the house for a quarter of the price.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. It is a great feeling, and I think it goes without saying that realtors would get a bad reputation, and it sucks. At the end of the day, there are a lot of bad realtors out there that give us that bad reputation, and a lot of negative connotations about us as people, right? Commission breath, shark hungry. Yeah, there are plenty of them like that. But for those of us like us and the ones on our team and a lot of other people out there, it really is about the life-changing experience that we bring to a lot of these families.
Yeah.
And nothing will ever trump that. And I think that's one of those things that, at the end of the day, handing someone the keys to their first house or helping them sell for equity that they never imagined is definitely wholesome, and it makes the whole process enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure.
So on top of everything, being a kick-ass realtor, obviously going 6 years and kind of with the future looking as well as it is for you, how do you balance the harmony between having 2 kids and managing real estate? A lot of people say real estate, you make your own hours. We're nonstop. So how do
Right.
you do it at such a high level?
So my kids, I started, when Jackson was 5 and Juliana was 8. So I feel like at this point they're like used to it. Like they know, like mom's on a phone call, like everybody be quiet. or they're, if I'm on vacation, like we're on a cruise or something, like I have my laptop with me. I have to submit this offer. I have to negotiate this repair. I would say, honestly, like they are my biggest supporters because they understand what I do and when it's time for me to do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know, it's just just how they are. Like they're very accepting of the fact that like, hey, I have to leave. Like you guys got to figure out dinner tonight because I'm showing in Rancho Bernardo, until 7 o'clock, whatever.
But it also helps provide for those core memories and moments, the experiences, the weekend trips in the desert.
Oh yeah,
the whole 9.
Yeah, and they get they're smart kids. They get it. They understand. They know it's just me, so they know in order to maintain everything that we have, like mom has to do what she has to do. I don't know if they're just like more emotionally mature or what, but they never make me feel bad about it. And there's a lot of times where I can schedule real estate around my kids.
Right.
Like I'm there for pickup, I'm there for drop off, I'm there for gingerbread making at the school. Like I try to be there as much as possible, especially because they're growing so fast. Like they're really not gonna need me, coming up pretty soon.
Hey,
like
contrary to what most people say, boys always need mama.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We
Jackson will
always
be
need
with
mom.
me forever. But my daughter's in high school now, so it's like she has her own things going on. So I have to schedule time with her. Actually.
Hey, can you fit me in your schedule?
No, literally, I'm like, okay, you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. Like, let me have Friday. Just give me Friday, okay? But yeah, it's really just with the support of them. They just get it.
Yeah.
They just get it.
Because and you said it yourself, right? It makes everything work.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. It's definitely tough, obviously, starting out that way. Obviously, 6 years ago, I'm sure it was a little bit more challenging, more difficult. But over time, obviously, it becomes customary where, hey, mom's got her thing going on and she's making it work, and we love her for it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Just another one of our badass moms on the team that makes the whole world go round. So it's amazing. In terms of like the outlook for the future for you, real estate life, what does it look like kind of heading in through the rest of 2025? What are some things you're super excited about?
Yeah, so I would say probably the thing that I'm most excited for is being a part of the mentorship program. So actually being able to help other agents learn the business and grow their business. That for me is like the most exciting thing. Of course I want to go out there, I want to kill it, I want to sell, I want to hit my goals and all that stuff. But it's going to be so rewarding, like to see the impact that I can make on someone else's business and in turn in their lives. Because for me, real estate provides so much opportunity for me because I was a teen mom. I didn't go to school. I don't have, a degree or anything. So for me, real estate has provided the lifestyle that, like, without it, I wouldn't be able to live the lifestyle that I have. So be able to like pour into other people and show them like, hey, this is how I did it, and guide them and encourage them. That's the most exciting thing for me.
I love that because it's super important to where it's something I say often. I learned at a very young age the difference between a leader and a boss. And one of my old mentors taught me that great leaders make great leaders. And you're coming into being a great leader as your own, and I like to think that I've come into one as my own, but it's coming from the people that have led me prior, including especially Dean Aphrodite. And we love that you're in that role and you're able to help lead some of these newer agents to the promised land. Yeah. Right? The same way that you got to it and kind of in your own way, and give them a little bit of Delcie love to help them flourish and kind of spread their wings and let them fly. We all have different journeys. We all have different kind of pathways in terms of where our life's headed and so on and so forth. In terms of looking back at teen mom, 18-year-old Delcie, she's sitting here right in front of you right now. What is one piece of advice you would give her?
I hate that question. I've been asked that before. I would tell her you're so much smarter than you. actually think that you are. Like, you're capable of so much more. Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
That's always like a hard question for me, because I did struggle with like myself, like self-esteem, and like, oh, I'm not smart. Well, I can't do this. I can't do that. And it's like, I never would have imagined my life now.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have imagined the house that I lived in. I never would have imagined the car that I drive. I never would have imagined like how smart and amazing my kids are. I would never would imagine everything that I have. And the fact that I did it, like, that to me is crazy. There was no hand up. There was no one like, here, Delcie, here's all your deals. Here's some checks. Here's this. It didn't work out like that. I had to go get it. And so I would just tell myself, like, you're so much more capable than you even know.
I love that. Man. I love you for that.
Why did you have to say that?
Honestly, it's moments like these where it makes me super happy, because there's so much more to us than people understand.
Yeah.
And so many of us can relate with each other because we felt similar ways.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I love you for that. And
that's what my makeup.
Thank you for the explanation of my makeup too. Last question.
Yes.
We talk a lot about legacy. Dean and Aphrodite pour into us so much. They talk about their legacy. You've built an incredible life for yourself and your kids. Down the road, when all is said and done,
mm-hmm.
What would Delcie love for her legacy to be?
I would just want to be known as someone who gave. Someone who gave, like, even if it was the last thing I had, like, I would want to be known as someone who gave, who either, whether it was like, you know, here's some money for a meal, or here's advice, here's my time, here's a shoulder to lean on. Like, I would just want to be known as someone who gave to others.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Special. You're a very special person.
Thank you.
I'm happy you sat down to do this.
Me too.
And I'm so proud of you for having the courage to do it and taking
you.
the time to spend with me and giving me your time.
Yeah.
That's an honor to me. Thank you. I love you.
I
really do. I love you guys. Thank you for watching another episode of Dag Life Podcast. See you next time.